Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. There has been a bit of a spat recently between Roy Jones Jr. and Floyd Mayweather Jr. I think it stems from Jones, as far as I can gather, from Jones saying that he thinks a prime Sugar Ray Leonard would have beaten Floyd. And Floyd, like most narcissists, doesn't like any kind of criticism whatsoever, or perceived criticism, because saying that Sugar Ray Leonard would beat you is not exactly a great insult, is it? Sugar Ray Leonard would probably have beaten most welterweights, most welterweights in history. Ray Robinson might be an example, an exception to the rule. But saying, well, I think Sugar Ray Leonard would beat you, it's not like you're having a real go, is it? But no. Floyd is Floyd. He's extremely narcissistic, as we know, and he took umbrage to this, and he started posting odds and sods of Jones getting knocked out, by Tarver and Glenn Johnson and so on. Now, Jones finished his career with 10 defeats, quite simply because he boxed for at least 15 years beyond his way beyond his, he should have done, his prime. He was fighting shot, as they say. He just wasn't doing. He was losing to guys who he'd stood them on their head. Because quite simply, if you look at his last ever professional fight, he lost to a total novice who could not have lasted a minute with the prime Jones. And he fought at cruiserweight for an awful long time. Enzo Maccarinelli, who was way past his best himself, knocked out Roy Jones in 4 rounds. Was it 4 rounds? I mean, he was losing to all sorts of... Enzo Maccarinelli, former WBO cruiserweight champ, but to see him knock out Roy Jones, if you remember Jones from his pure zenith, then it seems inconceivable that guy would have finished his career with 10 defeats. But he just fought too long. He just fought for a decade and a half at least. He fought shot. He was finished, and he just carried on and on and on, and it was horrible to see it. Really, really horrible. Because, in my opinion, Roy Jones Jr. I'm 58 years of age. Roy Jones Jr. is the best fighter, certainly of my lifetime. Better than the prime Sugar Ray Leonard, better than the prime Usyk, better than the prime Mike Tyson, all of whom were great fighters. But I would put Jones, when he was at his absolute peak, was just about as flawless a fighter, as unmanageable, as unfightable a fighter as you could possibly see. Now, there is a caveat to this, and that is that Jones failed a PED test, which to me personally, if you've watched this channel before, you'll know my opinion on drug cheats. Big black mark against him. That does detract from my overall awestruck admiration of Roy Jones at his best. He may have been juicing. Well, he was juiced. He got nicked once. And of course, there are other fighters, great Hall of Famers, who were clearly juicing and didn't get nicked. So Manny Pacquiao, Evander Holyfield, they don't tell me they didn't do something. Canelo in the modern game. They've been doing something, in my opinion. But Jones got nicked. So did James Toney, another great fighter from that era, He was another one who ended up with 10 defeats because he fought for way too long. The difference is that James Toney never got stopped. Roy Jones got stopped, I think it's 5 times, if memory serves. Which just, it's almost unbelievable that the guy could have... I mean, seeing him get knocked out by Antonio Tarver in that rematch, that was a shock. But I do think Roy's kind of wrecked his body, bringing it back down to light heavy from... Because it was muscle he put on. People say, well, he only went in... He was probably about 188 when he fought John Ruiz. He weighed in with his tracksuit on. He probably had things in his pockets. And he was probably only about 188. You put on, almost a stone of muscle, and then take it off in that short period of time between the Ruiz fight and the first Tarver fight. It's going to do your body a disservice. So, yes, seeing Jones getting flattened, it's an easy knock. He did harm his legacy by fighting on for so long, so many years after he was a shot fighter. But for Floyd to then react to Jones' opinion that Ray Leonard would beat him by posting pictures of Jones getting ironed out. I mean, let's have a look at what Jones said. Jones said it was low class of him posting clips of me losing. If I wanted to be messing with him, I could have done the same thing he did and got a book to start reading. He's referring, of course, to the fact Floyd is allegedly virtually illiterate. Then what's he going to say? He did it because I said I would bet my life that Floyd would not beat a prime Sugar Ray Leonard. I'm sorry, it's just the fact, and I'm entitled to my own opinion. If you are going to get mad about it, come and see me. You think you can whoop me still? I never said no, let's go, I fight. I don't do all that cherry picking. If you want to make it beef, come on. So Jones was unamused by Floyd rubbing his nose in it over his defeats. And then Jones goes on to say something that I think is a bit tenuous, to put it politely. He says, what top black fighter did Floyd ever face and beat handily in their prime? Not one. He struggled with an old Oscar de la Hoya. Not black anyway, is he? Oscar, but Mayweather's dad said he lost that fight. Then they say Floyd beat so many world champions. Most were not world champions at the time. They were ex-world champions. Now, okay, that is the knock against Floyd's undefeated career. He was catching people at the right time, deliberately manufacturing it so that he didn't give De La Hoya a rematch. He retired. We knew he was coming back. It was like, what? This is the sort of shit Fury does, nowadays. He hadn't really retired, but he wanted to avoid the rematch with Oscar De La Hoya, so I think it was a rematch clause. Some people thought De La Hoya beat Mayweather in that fight. I thought it was very, very close. I kind of expected De La Hoya to get the verdict, but he didn't. And of course, Mayweather Sr. was in De La Hoya's corner for that fight. But this business with what black fighter did Floyd ever face, I don't give a fuck about what colour they are, whether they're black, white, Mexican, sky blue, pink, brown with yellow spots. I don't give a fuck what ethnicity they are. That's absolutely irrelevant. So I don't know what his point is about black fighters. But he does say, who was his, meaning Floyd Mayweather's, this is Jones talking, who was his Thomas Hearns or Marvin Hagler or James Toney or Bernard Hopkins? Where is the guy who was on his level? Canelo Alvarez was young and he fought Manny Pacquiao after he was knocked out by Manuel Marquez, another one who was probably on PEDs, only one, I think. He didn't fight Terence Crawford. The Terence Crawford thing, different eras, different generations, I'd say, but Pacquiao, yeah. But then he thought, Mayweather thought Pacquiao was juicing, and I think he was too. I think he was cheating. So Pacquiao fought everyone who was on his level. In my humble opinion, it's almost safe to say that Pacquiao had a better career than Mayweather had. He didn't make the money Mayweather made, but he fought the fights that were supposed to be fought when it was time to fight them. He didn't wait around. Okay, that's an argument that can be made, certainly. That's what King of the Hill fighters do, says Jones, talking about taking on people in their prime, not waiting to age them out or until they've had a defeat or whatever. Now, I'm not saying Mayweather was wrong because he made more money than everyone ever did. That's cool. But stay over there on that side. Don't come over here on this side talking crazy because you didn't do it on this side. When you come on this side, it's going to be a little bit more different. And Roy then says, we, meaning him and Mayweather, were in Dubai a few years ago. And Mayweather said, I chose currency over legacy. And then he talks about how Muhammad Ali, isn't the greatest of all time. You lost me right there. Now I look at you differently. How are you going to tell me that Ali isn't the GOAT, especially when you didn't play King of the Hill and dominate like he did? You see, he then goes on to say, you made more money than anyone else. That's what you think makes you the GOAT in boxing? No, it does not. Face facts, brother. On this point, I'm absolutely with Roy Jones. Okay, because I don't give a fuck about defeats if people, reverse them, rise from the ashes, however you want to phrase it, whatever hyperbole you want to put on it. Muhammad Ali lost to Joe Frazier, fight of the century, and then he beat him twice. So in a sense, the fact that he lost but then reversed it twice, with a stoppage defeat as well in the third fight, which to me, I mean, the Rumble in the Jungle is, the Thriller in Manila is the greatest heavyweight title fight of all time. I've never seen a heavyweight fight like that. Incredible fight. And would that have happened if Ali hadn't lost the first fight? I mean, obviously losing is, you want to win, you don't want to lose. But you can take that negative and actually manipulate it so that it becomes part of a narrative which is even more positive. So Ali loses to Frazier. He then reverses that with it's 12 round. Second fight was over 12 rounds, and then the 15 rounder he fights Frazier again in one of the greatest, in my opinion, the greatest heavyweight title fight of all time. He then takes on a prime George Foreman, absolutely prime George Foreman, who no one thought could be beaten, and knocks him out. And he wins 2 out of 3, although I admit it. In my opinion, it should be against Ken Norton. Ken Norton should have 2 wins. Ali should have 1, because I thought Norton won the 3rd fight. But nevertheless, the record books show that Ali won 2 of the 3. So losing, the big 0. I don't give a fuck about that. Yes, it's an achievement, but I've always said for every Floyd or Joe Calzaghe or Rocky Marciano, there's a Sven Otka or a Terry Marsh who retired undefeated. So the 0 can be very, very deceptive. So basically, I sort of agree with Roy in some respects. I do think that Mayweather was a great fighter. I absolutely do not feel he is the greatest fighter of all time, pound for pound. I think that's just spin, and that is why that 0 is so important to him, because he did have a loss. If he did have a loss or 2, in his opinion, by his own criteria, that would prevent him from calling himself the greatest boxer of all time. If you take Sugar Ray Robinson had 19 defeats on his record. No one gives a fuck, because they know that if you look at his entire body of work, he is, arguably, again, there's others that you could include in the argument, but a lot of people feel he's the greatest pound-for-pound fighter of all time. The guy's got 19 losses. No one gives a shit. When Thomas Hearns got knocked out in 3 rounds by Marvin Hagler, his stock rose. How many fighters can you say that about? I'm talking long-term, in historical terms. His stock rose. How many fighters can you say that about? You get knocked out in 3 rounds, and historically, your stock rises. Why did it rise? Because he fought at the height of his powers, Marvin Hagler. In fact, you could actually argue Marvin was getting a little bit over the hill by that point, but nevertheless, it was that incredible fight with that astonishing opening round. They had an absolute shootout. 2 guys. It was a collision. It was one for the ages. And yes, Hearns lost. But nevertheless, he was part of this incredible historical spectacle. So, and of course, apart from the fact that Tommy also, drew with Ray Leonard, a lot of people feel that was a win for Tommy. Knocked out Roberto Duran in 2 rounds, knocked out Pepino Cuevas in 2 rounds, outpointed Wilfred Benitez, and to actually outbox Wilfred Benitez, you had to really be on it. You had to be people forget about Hearns. They think he was this welterweight banger, which he was. But he was a supremely good boxer as well. Extremely good boxer. But he's got defeats on his record. Does that mean Thomas Hearns is crap? Or is not very well thought of? On the contrary. Why? Because he fought everyone. If you fight everyone, defeats don't necessarily, or they needn't define you. Because again, you can take that defeat and put it as not a defining fight, but as part of an overall narrative that takes you up, up, up. And, now if Floyd had taken on De La Hoya in the rematch and beaten him again, his legacy would obviously be higher, but he chose to retire just to avoid the rematch, and he did give other people a little swerve, didn't he? Margarito is often mentioned, and Paul Williams is mentioned. Paul Williams, 6'1" or whatever he was. This is all subjective. I get it, but bearing in mind what I just read about what Roy is saying, I do think I probably agree with 75% of what he's saying. I think he has a point. And it is just an opinion. Sugar Ray Leonard would have beaten Floyd Mayweather Jr. Okay? Maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. Certainly Floyd could have had a chance of beating Leonard. You don't know. We'll never know. But it is just an opinion. And then, of course, for Floyd to come back and start posting pictures of Roy getting flattened by Tarver or whatever. Yeah, he got flattened by Tarver. So what? You know, what are you saying? Tarver's a bum? Are you saying, you know, it's kind of playground nonsense, really, isn't it? Anyway, just some thoughts on that. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your opinion is, and whose side of the argument are you on, or are you like me and you can see bits and pieces on both sides? Let me know. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching this video anyway. And if you did enjoy it, please hit the like button. And yeah, join us. Subscribe to the channel. Spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. Thank you very much. I will catch you later. Bye for now.